नमस्कार। आप सभी लोग अपने अपने घरों पर से कुशल होंगे। इसी आशा के साथ dear students, we have to start our new chapter, that is the body fluids and the circulations. Especially in this chapter we will talk about the blood and lymph, right? Especially its components, plasma, blood groups, tissue fluids, evenly the circulatory pathways, especially about the pumping of the heart, right? And circulatory system. Especially in the circulatory system we will talk about the some specific characters of that circulatory system, that is the double circulations through the special regions, and the regulations of the cardiac activity, mean how the heart can be controlled by different means, right? And some disorder of it. Means this is the whole picture view or the flow charts of the chapter body fluid and the circulation. So let's start to begin about this chapter now. So as you all know that each and every living organism needed the energy, and that energy can be just transported by any means. Especially if we talk about in the living organisms, it can be just transported or the with the help of fluid. So especially if we talk about the circulatory system or circulation, means generally we can say that transport the various materials from one place to the another place of their body. अगर हम केवल ह्यूमन ऑर्गेनिज्म की बात नहीं करते, ह्यूमन बॉडीज की बात नहीं करते हैं, तो कोई भी ऑर्गेनिज्म है तो अगर उसके अंदर इफ द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन of any substance, various component, even it is the energy, even it is the protein, even it is the ions and nutrients, so it can be always circulate from one place to another place. That is known as the circulatory system. If we talk about the especially in the circulation in the human beings, we can say the blood in the most commonly used to fluid which can be used for the transport the different substances from one place to another place. So as we have to know, especially in the this circulatory systems have the some special components in it, right? In which we can say the heart, blood vessels and the blood, right? So especially if we can talk about this blood vessels, right? So generally as we all know that this blood is very important, right? Means and this circulatory system can be also depends and circulated with the help of two types, right? Means we can check the circulatory system can be classified into two types, that is we can say the open circulatory systems and the closed circulatory systems. If we talk about the open circulatory system, especially in the open circulatory systems, the blood can be just flows directly from the heart to the whole tissue or the body, right? Means if we talk about the circulatory path, it on the basis of this one, so heart can be always just give the blood directly into the body part, and that we can say that they have a leg of the capillaries in them, or we can say directly the blood vessels can be always opens in a space in a body cavity that is called sinuses, right? And where there is a blood is collected a large veins which can be which open into the heart, and after that a large vein can again collect that deoxygenated blood and just transport it into the heart. So we can say this type of circulatory systems, that is called the where blood does not contain any respiratory pigment, especially we can say if the present in dissolved in plasma, or this type of system found in the arthropods and the molluscs. Means the open type of circulatory system is always found into the such organisms, and this is known as the open circulatory system. On the other hand, there is a closed circulatory system which can be especially found in the annelids and the chordates, right? So in that particular conditions, the heart, the blood can be transported from the heart, means the heart can be pumped the blood from the with the help of the arteries, veins and capillaries. Means there is a present of these all blood vessels are found into the closed circulatory systems, where these all substances can be always transported through the closed vessels, right? So such systems is known as the closed circulatory systems. But there is one thing, one question can be asked, that why it is advantageous in compared to other one? Because generally we can say that all living organisms, right, their all parts they have to need it to supply the blood right? And this closed circulatory system can be always help to efficient supply of the blood to all body parts, right? Because as we all know, the heart is situated between the our thoracic cavity, and from where the brains each cell needed the blood. So it needed this closed circulatory systems can be comprises or structures to form the higher pressures, due to which the blood can be supplied to our brain and so on. So this way we can say that our circulatory system is very important. Then we have to come on the next topic, that is most important, that is the blood. Means how we can say the blood is very necessary. So as we all know, the blood, which can a special connective tissue, because it can be capable to connect all different parts of our body, right? So where the fluid matrix, plasma and the form different elements are found over there. Evenly, if we talk about directly what are the different components of the blood, we have to know it. Generally, if we can see the into the blood vessels, there is a liquid stage and some cells are found over there. So especially we can say in that yellowish substances, if we can draw like a structure, suppose this is a blood vessels, and here we can say especially generally there is a structures, sorry, it is not working, I think so. Here, suppose this is the whole substance found into the blood vessels, this yellowish substance, that is we can say this is the fluid or liquid, right? And the same time there is some different structures are found between them, it may be like this. So these are the different cells, right? We can directly say, especially into the blood have the two components, right? That is the directly we can say liquid and the cells or cell component. That liquid contains the at least 55%, that is the plasma, and the other one that is called the cells or the components of that is 45% inside them. So we have to just know about this plasma and the blood vessels or the different formed elements of the blood. So we have to know that this plasma again have the different substances in them, right? So we can say especially this plasma have again 90 to 92% is water, and rest of 8% that is the protein which is found in that particular structures inside our blood. And as we can say from where this blood can this substance can be came from, आखिर हम सोचें कि ये जो सब्सटेंस है प्लाज्मा के अंदर ये हमारे पास आया कहाँ से, right? So for that, what about the water, what about the protein, and what about the ions, from where these all substances can be just absorbed? So you must remember that all the water which is reabsorbed or absorbed during through the digestive systems, means all the water can comes from the digestive system directly, you can say, right? And all protein, right, the all protein which can be generally absorbed or directly from the we can say through the liver, directly indirectly we can say, generally this can be found over there, right? So generally these are the different substances which can be just come over there, right? So we can say especially they can be always helpful for the development, right? And evenly there is one more thing we have just forgotten about that, that is means inside the blood, the all the inside the blood into the plasma, the different cells which can be developed through our bones, right? We will talk about them later especially, but we have to know especially in the bone there is two regions, there is a one yellow bone marrow and one is red bone marrow. Where red bone marrow there is a different cells of the blood, there may be RBC, WBC, platelets, so on, they can be found over there, and from that they can be always helpful for the formation of the plasma. So we can say this is the most important structure of the plasma is found over there. So we have to know, especially if we talk about the compositions of the plasma, right? We must know that how the compositions of the plasma can be developed, or especially we have to know, as I have already told you, that this plasma contains 90 to 92% water and 6 to 8% that is solutes or the some other produce. Evenly, this plasma can also have the various ions: sodium, magnesium, calcium, hydrocarbonates, glucose, right, and some protein, amino acids, and all hormones can be also found over there. Evenly, this plasma can contains the cholesterol, lipids, urea, waste, and other organic substances are also found over there. So we can say it is a most important thing which can be found especially in them. Or we can say this plasma can also have all the factors for clotting, coagulation of the blood. They are also present actively in the plasma, and without plasma without blood clotting factor is known as serum. Generally आप लोगों ने बेटा देखा होगा, जब कभी भी कहीं वुंड्स होते हैं तो वुंड्स पे एक येलोइश कलर का वाटर जैसा सब्सटेंस एक्सक्रीट कर जाता है, तो वही सीरम होता है, यानी एक्सेप्ट दिस प्लाज्मा. So if we talk about the protein of the plasma, right, if we talk about the different protein of the plasma, it can also again contain the three types of the proteins. They may be, we can say, the albumin, globulin, and the fibrogens. These are different proteins which can be found into the plasma. So we have to not talk too much about this albumin. You must know that the highest percentage of the protein which is found into the plasma, that is the albumin, right, and it can be always secreted from the liver. In the same way, the fibrogens, which can play a very important role for the clotting of the blood, that is the lowest component of that plasma protein, and it is also again secreted from the liver, right. After that, evenly the one most important thing, if we talk about this albumin, means as I told, it is the highest amount found into our plasma. And if we talk about especially where this albumin is found over there generally, right, so we can say especially the albumin retain H2O inside the capillaries. As we all know that these different proteins and the water molecules, they are the hydrophobic, right, means they water loving proteins. So generally they have to always helpful for to maintain the osmotic balance of the blood. For that, this albumin protein can play a very important role in the plasma, right, as generally whenever this substance can be just flows from the capillaries, right, and it can capable to just exchanges the protein from blood vessels from capillaries to the cells, and from some substance from cell to the capillaries. So this way we can say, especially the action of these capillaries can be always helpful for the maintaining of this osmotic balance of the blood. Means without this they cannot be able to utilize. Evenly we can say this globin are especially three types, right, that is alpha, beta, and gamma. Especially gamma protein is very important for this one, because they can always helpful for the formation of the plasma. And we also know that gamma globulin can always helpful for the development of the antibodies. Means generally this especially gamma globulin can always helpful for the developing of this one. Generally we have to know, just we have talked about the albumin, fibrosin, and globin. So globin is another type of protein which can be have the three types, that is alpha, beta, and gamma. Especially in the alpha and beta can be again secreted from the liver, but there is no expression about this alpha and beta globin in our 11th class. So there is a one more, that is gamma globin, which can be generally utilized for the development of the antibodies. Let's talk about what are the main functions of this plasma. Means what are the different functions of the plasma can be done, which are very necessary for us. That is, we can say the function of plasma. Directly we can say that this plasma can be always help to transport the uniform distributions of the heat and all over the body. Right? Evenly, this plasma can be always helpful for the providing the immunity to the body. It can always helpful for the maintain of the blood pH. It can always help for the prevention of the blood loss, and especially the fibrogen help in the blood clotting globin. Right? It can be always help for defense of the mechanism, help you maintain the osmotic balance, as I have already told you. So you must know that fibrogen is the lowest from my liver. It can always help the coagulations or the clotting of the blood. Right? So this is the main thing. Then there is another part of the blood, that is the called as blood cells. Right? Especially if we talk about, there are three types of the cells are found, in which we can say one is RBC, WBC, and the platelets. So let's begin about this cells. Right? First of all, we know that especially the blood corpuscles, right, that is RBC, generally they are known as red blood corpuscles. Right? Or sometimes we can so known that they are also known as erythrocytes. Means why they are known as erythrocytes? Especially the erythro. The word erythro means that generally you can say the word erythro means the red, and cytes means the cell. Mean the cell which are red in color, they are known as the erythrocytes or RBCs. Right? So generally they are RBCs, they are red in color because as we all know that they contain a specific protein or the that is known as hemoglobin in them. So let's start talk about the RBCs. Generally, if we talk about that these are most important cells which are found into the blood, and we can say they are red in color due to the presence of the hemoglobin. They have contain a specific pigment, that is the hemoglobin, due to which they are the red in color. As well as we can say they can always act as the oxygen carrier, means they can play the important role to the transport the oxygen from one place to another place in the through the blood. Right? Or we can say that these are formation of these RBCs will always especially take place in the red bone marrow, as I have already told you, while the blood is formed. Right? Blood generally it can be formed with the help of two parts, especially I told you the water, which can be always arranged from the digestive systems, right, and different protein which are generally arises from the liver, and some other components, some other substances which can be always developed from, especially these cells, right, they can be always developed from the our bones, where the yellow bones and the red bone. Generally the yellow bone marrow does not play any important role, but during after the aging, adult aging, sometimes during the emergency, these yellow bones maybe changes, yellow bone marrow can maybe change into the red bone marrow, which can be plays a very important role for the formation of the RBC, WBC, and the platelets. So in the same way here the RBCs can be formed especially in the red bone marrow into the adults. If we talk about the shape and size of the erythrocytes, RBCs, generally they are biconcave disc-like shaped structure which can be always up to diameter up to 7 to 8 micron, or we can say they are generally variable in shapes are found, especially as well as we can say no cell organelle found in it. Generally these RBC does not have any cell organelles in them, they are the cells, right, and the whole volume of this RBC is filled with the help of hemoglobin, and we can say at least a healthy individuals have the 12 to 16 gram of the hemoglobin in every 100 ml blood. So students, you must know about this one, that there is an adult and healthy adult have 12 to 16 gram per 100 ml of blood of RBCs found over there. If we talk about the numbers, generally and in a man average number of RBC is about 5 to 5.5 millions per cubic millimeter of the blood, or especially in the females it is 4 to 4.5 millions per cubic millimeter of the blood they are found. And talk about the life span of these RBCs. Generally, the RBC can be survived, and total lifespan of RBCs, that is 120 days, after which RBCs becomes non-functional and get destroyed in the spleen. And as we all know, the spleen is the graveyard of the RBC. So spleen, that's why the spleen is also known as graveyard, because generally after destroying, they can be just found over there. That's why they are known as the such structures, right? After that, we have to talk about the another, that is called leukocytes, right, or blood vessels. Then again, these leukocytes, the word leukocytes, as this word itself say about their things, means this WBC or this leuco means white, right, and cell means cell, cytes means cell. The white cells, or we can say white blood cells, means those cells which are white in color, they are known as the leukocytes or WBC in the blood, right? I think you will understand about it is easily, right? As well as we can think that these leukocytes have some other structures, right? Especially we can say these are the known for the most active and motile contingent of the blood vessels, especially generally as the lymph can be done, right? And they do not have the possess the red color, that means they do not have the hemoglobin, so they are not colorless. Or we can say the WBCs are nucleated and they generally short life. Generally they have a very short life, and they can if we talk about number of this, then we can say at least 6,000 to 8,000 per cubic millimeter into the blood. Or we can say generally they can move in an amoeboid fashion, as the amoeba can be moved with the help of pseudopodia, they can also move like this one. And we can say they can squeeze through the capillary walls and move to the site of the action. This we know generally their movement of these WBCs is especially into the capillaries, that is called diapedesis. And these leukocytes can be again classified in different categories, especially the granulocytes and the agranulocytes. We will talk about them later, but still we have to talk the small thing that is called the blood platelets or thrombocytes, right? So we have known that what about these thrombocytes, especially the thrombocytes can also known as the blood platelets, as we can say, especially these are the cell fragments which can be produced formed in the megakaryocytes. Especially we can say they are special cells found in the red bone marrow. If we talk about the structure of this platelet, they are the oval shape disc-like cells found only especially in the mammalian blood, right? And they have divide nuclei. Evenly platelet contain the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, and some other structures which are found into the cells or tubule, like the granule tubules, filaments, actin and myosin, and ADP, so on. And at least if we talk about their numbers, the blood normally contains 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 platelets per cubic meter. Means generally a blood contains 1,50,000 to the 3,50,000 platelets per cubic meter into the blood. So as well as their reduction can be done, so the clotting of blood cannot be over. Means we can say that this clotting disorder can be found over there, especially during the injured conditions. Evenly, the another thing we can say the lifespan of these platelets, that is about 7 to 12 days, and the formation of this thrombocyte is thrombopoiesis. Whenever the formation of this thrombocyte is known as thrombocytes. If we talk about the functions, as I already told you, their main functions to release the factor, most of them which can be always helpful for the coagulation of the blood. So this one up to here we have completed. In next topic we will talk about the different characters of different types of the WBCs, that is the granulocytes and the agranulocytes. So students, you must prepare your notes. Thank you.